What's going on, guys? Today we have an advanced tutorial on how to expose log footage for your camera, and I promise you, you've never heard this before. So let's get right into it. Okay guys, this is the third part of the color grading series on my channel, and I realized that I cannot teach color grading without teaching you guys the very foundations of it, and that's the shooting aspect of it. Most people nowadays are doing it all, from shooting to coloring their own work. And I really want to build a community and a one-stop shop that will help you guys with that journey. And if this interests you, then come along for the ride and let's get better together. Okay, so I'm a commercial DP based out of Tampa, Florida, and I've had the pleasure of working for huge brands like Harper's BAZAAR, Nirvana Water, and American Cancer Society, and A-list celebrities like Serena and Venus Williams, Louis C.K. and Michael Vick, just to name a few in the past year. And one thing I believe was the turning point of my career was how I exposed my images. This alone helped me produce consistent results, and I want to share with you my process. But before I get to that, I must address this. There's a ton of content out there that teaches you the same thing, expose with false color, use zebra or zebras, or expose to the right, ETTR. But none of them address the underlying factor and the why you are doing that. And the short answer to that is middle gray. Each camera manufacturer has a marketed dynamic range, which is the distance between black and white. But within that dynamic range, you have what we would call a latitude, right? So within that latitude, there's the most optimum exposure and sweet spot called middle gray. Digital cameras record in a linear curve and then encode that data for our vision with their own camera's manufacturer's log curve. And each camera manufacturer has what they set as middle gray in their respective curve. This is important because this alone would teach you how to expose for your camera brand's log curve to get you the best and most data on your sensor. This is especially important for color grading. In my previous video, I teach you guys how to revert back to linear space to give more naturalistic exposure in a linear space. So definitely go check out that video next, because I'm finding myself using this technique every single time I color grade. Okay, so take my red for example. If I look at where middle gray is for log 3G10, I can see that it has a lot more latitude in the highlights. What this tells me as a DP is I need to expose one stop to get the most data on my sensor for my red. The problem with exposing with false color is it doesn't always give you what middle gray is for your camera's log curve, and zebras don't necessarily do that either. So how can we get consistent results if we do not know where our middle gray is for our camera sensors? The problem with exposing one stop over or one stop below is when you get on set and you record your image, you want to show a client, oh, this looks good. But if you look back and play back on your monitor, if you expose for the most data for your sensor, then your image will either be too dark or too bright. And I guarantee you, your client is gonna have their doubts and questioning if you know what you're doing. Okay, now stick with me, because this next step is about to blow your mind, right? Because I'm gonna teach you how you can build a show-LUT to put on your monitor that will give you optimally, however you say that word, but the best image for your playback. And I am gonna take you guys through my process, but first let's take a dive in DaVinci Resolve. Okay, so I'm gonna help you guys create a show-LUT using DaVinci Resolve's built-in LUTs. And I know you guys have been grading underneath the film print 2383 Kodak LUT, so I'm gonna use that in today's example. So let me start off by setting up my node tree first. I'm gonna open up my effects, drag in color space transform. My input color space is red gamut RGB. My input gamma is red log 3G10. I'm gonna set my output color space to Rec 709 and my output gamma to Cineon film log. Make sure luminance mapping is on. And make sure gamut mapping is on. Make sure apply for OOTF is on. Next, I'm going to add a serial node, Option S or Alt S on Windows. I'm going to add the Kodak 2383 LUT D60. Apply. All right, so now that we have our node tree put in place, as I said earlier, red log 3G10 has more details in the highlights. So as a DP, I want to expose one stop above middle gray to get the most data on my sensor. Whenever you make a show-LUT, you want to kind of think opposite of what the DP thinks on set. So if you want to overexpose by one stop, you need to create a show-LUT that is underexposed by one stop so that when you get on set, that overexposure will look correct on your monitor, basically canceling each other out. And this is how I'm going to do that. I want to click on my node number 1. Go over to my HDR color wheels. I want to click these 3 dots, color space, red Y gamut, gamma, red log 3G10, and I'm going to underexpose this by one stop. Whenever you make exposure changes in your HDR color wheels, that is making linear changes, which is a photometrically accurate way to measure your exposure. That means that -1 in your HDR color wheels is exactly one stop under, and +1 in HDR color wheels is exactly one stop above middle gray. Okay, so now that we've decreased our exposure by one stop, it's time to export our show-LUT. But a quick note before you do this, there are a couple things you do not want placed inside of your show-LUT, like halation, grain, or any other OFX like glow, texture pop. And also, when you're creating a show-LUT, you want to go to generate LUT and make sure you select 33 point cube for your show-LUT. Name it 2383 red, save, and now all you need to do next is import that onto your monitor, and then you have your first show-LUT. Thank you guys for watching this video. I was so excited to show and share this with you because I really think this will help take your production or your images to the next level. And honestly, like, I wish I had learned this early on in my career, because once I got the hang of exposing this way, it really gave me high quality images, which stepped up my production quality so much in the past year. And so if you got anything out of this video, share it, like it, all that jazz. Ask questions in the comments if you have any questions on this video. I promise to get back to you. At the end of the day, I want to build a community out there who, like me, are passionate about the craft and just want to tell a better story. So if you vibe with this, you subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching. And until next time, stay creative, keep creating, and stay resilient.